Welcome back to Cocktails and Classics. As always, we have Dylan, Ben, and Cam. This week, we're talking about Blazing Saddles, the 1974 movie by Mel Brooks.
Wow. Cam, just take it away.
This week, we have, what was our drink?
Blazing Saddles cocktail.
All right.
It's 1.5 ounces of Reposado tequila.
Okay.
They used Espolón, half ounce of lime juice, quarter ounce of simple syrup, half ounce of elderflower liqueur from Saint Germain, quarter ounce of chartreuse, which is an herbal liqueur, 2 dashes of a pepper tincture. They used habanero. And then 2 cherries as garnish.
It's a shame Zach isn't here because I feel like he would love this. I mean, I think I would like it. I would be intrigued by it. But Zach, I think, would like it a lot.
Oh, yeah. I feel like Zach loves spicy drinks. Spicy drinks are okay, but I'm definitely not going to be like...
I do not like spicy drinks that much. Like, if it's a hint, that's fine. But, like...
I don't...
Because, like, that one sounds like it's kind of a hint, you know, with the elderflower and stuff on top of it. But, no, spicy drinks are not for me. I like either, like... harder drinks, like, you know, like old fashions and stuff, or like very sweet stuff. Like, I'm not into the like savory spectrum.
I don't want heat in a cocktail.
Yeah.
I don't want my mouth burn. If I want my mouth to burn drinking alcohol, I'll just drink really strong alcohol.
Well, it's a different burn, obviously.
Yeah.
But, like, I think it's just another flavor, like, spectrum that you can hit. Because, you know, you got your whatever sweet, savory, spicy, bitter, umami. Like, it's just another, like, area you can take it. And I feel like if it's done right, like this, I feel like could be done right since it's only like 2 dashes of like a pepper thing.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, wow, this drink is really hot. You just get like a little bit of like the taste and a little bit of the like heat towards the tail end of it.
I don't know. It might try to... I could see where they're going to make it though a little bit spicier because it's the Blazing Saddle.
Yeah. So get the blazing part of it.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like... kind of just feels like margarita adjacent, but they're adding
feels like a spicy
bit.
Margarita. Yeah.
Like, yeah, with the like chartreuse, like which is an herbal liqueur, and then like the elderflower. It seems like you're like zhuzhing it up a little bit. If you want to make yourselves a blazing saddle, check the show notes below, and hit up the Drizzling Casker links. Get yourself some tequila, some Saint Germain, some chartreuse. You may have to make the pepper tincture yourself, but check those links below for the Drizzling Casker links to buy some of those. And check out Blazing Saddles. It's on Hulu as of recording.
Yeah. Be sure to drink many of these before you watch this movie. If you watch this movie. I will say up front, if you haven't watched it yet, there's a lot of slurs in the movie, like so many of them, and it's bad. So like if you don't want to watch that, like I understand, because it is quite off-putting. It can be quite off-putting. So just a warning, a heads up. It has aged. Most of this movie has aged rather poorly, in my opinion. So
I mean, it was also poorly when it came out in the 70s. It was also not okay to say half the words they say.
Yes. Right. But it looks even worse now. So just wanted to put that disclaimer on there that this that there's a lot of that in here. So either
also,
don't watch
it's
it
on
or
Hulu,
drink a lot
which
of them.
Fucking hate watching movies on Hulu.
Yeah.
There's like 3 ad breaks.
Yes. I will say that's my biggest complaint.
Why didn't I get ad breaks?
Do you have like Hulu?
I
ads?
might have the plus plan. I don't know. My dad pays for it.
That might be it.
He might have like
it,
the premium.
I mean, it was nice because it like ended after the first 15, 20 minutes or whatever with the ads, but it was like start, then there was like a chunk, and then another chunk.
Yeah.
Blazing Saddles is a 1974 Mel Brooks comedy and a spoof on Western films. Currently sits at a 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb. It's the story of, in order to ruin a Western town, a corrupt politician appoints the first black sheriff, who promptly becomes his most formidable adversary. It's written by Mel Brooks, Norm Steinberg, Andrew Bergman, Richard Pryor, and Alan Uger. It's UGR. Stars Cleavon Little, Gene Wilder, Slim Pickens, Harvey Korman, Madeline Kahn, Mel Brooks. Count Basie's in there at one point. Trying to see if there's anyone else who like
Alex Karras, who later on went to be in some big 70s TV shows. He was also an NFL football player, Mongo. I believe he was in Webster in the 70s and 80s, but he also played... Who did he play for? Oh, God, I can't remember.
He was University of Iowa Hawkeyes.
Yeah, he also played for the Seahawks and the Lions.
Yeah, he was a defensive tackle for the Lions.
He was a 4-time Pro Bowler with the Detroit Lions.
Nice.
All right.
I knew I liked
Maybe it wasn't
Mongo.
the Seahawks. I'm thinking of... Yeah. Yeah, so pretty cool.
It's interesting, yeah.
Let's see. Blazing Saddles was nominated for 3 Oscars: Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Best Film Editing, and Best Music Original Song, which was the intro song, Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles, the song, is pretty fucking good. It's a damn good intro song, and I'll say it slaps.
It kind of like sets the mood for the movie, I will say. Well, it sets the mood for the first like 3/4, 4/5 of the movie, because then the last 20
so
minutes,
so
it's
good,
just
so
utter
fucking
chaos.
good. Absolutely wonderful.
Cam and I don't think had seen this film. Ben, you'd seen this.
Yeah.
We had talked about doing it on the pod many a times, but we'd always kind of dodged it with like, doing Animal House and those sort of movies where it's like,
We've been scared off from doing it ourselves because we thought,
we knew
it'd be pretty
kind
bad
of going in.
I will say I knew that, and I was still surprised. Within the first 5 minutes, I was like, was this a mistake doing this? And then after 10 minutes, I was like, this was such a big fucking mistake. Oh my God. This is bad.
There are things that aren't good. I will say the one thing that, to me, kind of like... One, I feel like a lot of the racial jokes, to me, feel very much like Richard Pryor jokes. Like, I will say those very much feel like a Richard Pryor contribution. 1. 2, yes, the N-word is used a lot. A lot of derogatory terms are used. But most of the time, when you watch the movie, you don't feel like it's like, yes, they're using it derogatorily, but it just makes you feel like the people who say it are completely fucking stupid.
Yeah, I mean, Gene Wilder calls
Gene
them
Wilder
morons
literally
at some
straight up
point,
is like, they're the salt of the earth, people, morons.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely a dig at the people who are using the term. And also, they take fucking shots at everybody.
Yeah, they don't just say the N-word. They say some racial slurs across the category, too.
They also make fun of white people. So, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, they make fun of Irish people near the end as well. Well, I don't always make fun of. It's just more
basically
casual
just said
racism.
we don't want any.
Yeah.
We don't want any Irish.
They also take a shot at one of the church, like one of the Christianity sects, but I can't remember which one.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
Methodists.
Methodists.
Yeah.
I will say the only thing that really threw me off, and we can kind of move past the racial things, but the one thing that really got me was Mel Brooks playing the Indian chief.
Oof.
That wasn't
That's
great, but he
rough.
does talk in Yiddish, which was like...
That's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, I was
he
like,
does talk like an old Jewish man.
Yeah.
But I was like, they did kind of darken his skin to do it, which was But I mean, I don't know. I feel like, and maybe it's just me. I feel like some of the humor was lost on me.
Yeah.
If it was like a spoof on like something like a Western thing, because I feel like at least where we are and like when we grew up, there wasn't many Westerns. Like if you're gonna watch a Western, it would be like one of the big ones, or we had like Tombstone, and then like the 310 to Yuma
310 to Yuma remake. That was really kind
True
of
Grit remake. But it's
Yeah.
like, other than that, we didn't grow up watching like John Wayne. At least personally, I didn't. Like, I wasn't watching John Wayne.
You guys didn't grow up watching John Wayne.
I did not grow up watching John Wayne.
So it's like, I know it's like a hard spoof on the Western film, and some of those aspects probably just missed me really hard. But I do appreciate like Mel Brooks and just the writing style, because I definitely chortled through a lot of this movie with like some of the like dialogue and just like the quirky, like dialogue driven jokes. Like, what's the fucking one? Oh, the meeting is adjourned. What? It is? No, you say the meeting is adjourned. Is it? Like,
Yeah.
like that whole bit. Like, I love those kind of like stupid, like who's on first type jokes.
I love the absurdity of the humor in this movie. I do. I just absolutely adore it. From the fucking Candygram. I mean, like, it makes no sense. The entire ending.
I was gonna say the end
I
got like
fucking
super
love it.
meta. It was
Oh my
weird.
god.
It was
But
one
just-
of the more clever parts of the whole movie. Was
But
the
just
end.
like from the part where it's literally like, I got something that's gonna slow him down. A toll road. Oh shit. We're gonna need a shit.
anyone have any
load of
dimes? No, you got to go back and get a shit ton of dimes.
And then when they walk up, they're like, "Hey, this is a closed set. Screw you. We work for Mel Brooks."
Yeah, like it went that far. Oh, and then they're like, the part where it's like, oh, let's go see the end of the movie, or we got to find out how this
Yeah.
ends, and then they walk into the movie.
To the theater.
What?
After the bad guy had gone in and seen him pull up to the theater on the screen, he's like, "Oh, god damn it," and had to leave or whatever.
It was very Spaceballs-esque in
Yeah.
some of those moments.
Yeah.
where it's
Spaceballs
like,
the T-shirt.
yeah.
Spaceballs the lunchbox.
I just think it's there's a lot of that stuff to me that's just the random, like the the medieval hangman who's just like the guy just shh, it's okay, it's just the sound of a man and his horse being hung. Like, just the absurdity of like, why, what purpose does this serve other than to be ridiculous?
I will say, I wrote down, I was like, how many fourth wall breaks are there going to be in this movie?
Yeah.
Because like half the lines are like delivered and then they just turn to the camera. Or they're like, why am I asking you?
There's some also like anachronistic things too. Like the guy's name is Headley Lamar, and they get it wrong so many times. And in the beginning, like near the, I can't think of minute, I don't know, somewhere in there, the mayor's like, "Oh, it's fine. It's the 1870s. You'll get to sue her." Like later on,
Yeah.
and it's
No,
like,
no, it's Headley.
interesting.
No, it's fine. You've got 60 years. You could probably sue her.
And then there was another one later on. I don't remember. It was when they were doing all the signups for like all the bad guys near the end, and I'm trying to remember what it was though. He like ran off and said something. He was like, somebody said something about like, "Oh, we'll cut them off at the overpass or something," and he was like, "I hate that cliche," and he like shot him in the foot or something.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, yeah, we'll cut him off at the pass. Or we'll head him off. We'll head him off at the pass.
Yeah.
He's like, I hate that cliche.
Go do that voodoo that you
that's
do
right.
so well.
The one I was thinking of is that when they get exposed after pulling the hoods off, he says, "And now for my next impression, Jesse Owens," and then just like takes off. Go, what the fuck?
There's like so many lines that I didn't realize that were from this movie, or they were like referencing other things, like the "we don't need no stinking badges." Like my dad would always quote that, and I feel like he's quoting this movie and not the movie that this one is referencing.
Yeah. 100%.
Or I didn't realize it was from this movie, but "where the white women at?"
Is it from this movie? I know they say it in this movie, but I feel like it's a reference to something else.
I'd be hard pressed to find a movie, another movie where they're referencing that, but maybe
I could be wrong. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I was surprised to hear that too.
Let me see. Let me see if there's a connections.
Yeah, I only see it coming from this. I think it is from this.
Literally, I feel like there are so many like quotes in this movie, even the ones that still hold up as being completely hilarious. I love the they said you was hung and they were right.
Oh my god. That one was funny.
I will say I could have done without the German woman,
Yeah,
Lily von Stupp.
Yeah, that was a weird plot line. That was odd.
I think it was just a giant way for them to write stooping into like a movie
Yeah.
Because like
as a
that
euphemism.
whole movie, or the whole musical number, sorry, that she does, I'm just like, oh, okay.
I was wondering where I recognized her from. She's Mrs. White in Clue.
Yep.
Von
Okay.
Stoop.
But that, and then like where it's like, oh, you have to kill him or whatever, and then they just like end up sleeping together, and she's like, oh, he's a nice man. I was like, we just wasted fucking 10 minutes on this
Yeah,
stupid
on this
plot
bit.
line.
Yeah. I will say, I think the bright spot for me in this movie was the relationship between Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder. I feel like they had pretty good on-screen chemistry.
Oh, absolutely.
And they would like, there were a couple where they would like crack jokes and it sounded like it was either off the cuff or maybe it was like their first take or something. And like the laugh was like genuine. Like it was the first time they had heard it and they're like, good friends hanging out or something.
Yeah, I for as much as you think Gene Wilder's in this movie, like I feel like it in my head, Gene Wilder's always in this movie a lot more than he actually is.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised. I got like halfway through it or more and he showed up. I was like, I honestly forgot he was in this dang thing. Even though he's like, one of the featured actors, obviously, but he only shows up like halfway through.
Cam, this does say that the line where he's like, morons, was actually improv, or I guess he just didn't know that it was coming.
Oh,
So like the reaction there was actually real.
that's funny. He's probably like, dude, I've been getting called racial slurs for like weeks now, so that was a good one. Interesting. So apparently Hedy Lamarr did sue Mel Brooks over the use of the name Hedley Lamarr, and they settled out of court. What the fuck? Really? That's surprising. I can't imagine anyone doing that today, honestly. That's so strange. It's just interesting because, Gene Wilder said of this film, they smashed racism in the face, but they're doing it while you laugh.
Yeah.
It's so tough because it's like, I get that the point is against the people and makes them look bad, right? Like, I get that. But on the other hand, it's just like, I don't know, a lot of it just feels so unnecessary to me that's like, why did you do that,
I mean, yeah, later on, I don't know if you kept reading, but it does say like Mel Brooks had repeated conflicts over the content with Warner Brothers executives. They objected to the constant use of the N-word. The scene with Lily Von Stupp seducing Bart in the dark, the flatulent campfire scene, and Mongo punching out a horse, among many other issues. Mel Brooks, whose contract gave him final content control, declined to make any substantial changes. He did remove the final line from Bart and Lily's seduction scene, which was, "I hate to disappoint you, ma'am, but you're sucking my arm." When asked later about the frequent use of the N-word in the script, Brooks said he received consistent support for its use from Richard Pryor and Cleavon Little. He added that if the film were to be remade today, the controversial word would have to be omitted, but then you'd have no film. After the film's release, he said he received many letters of complaint about the frequent use, but of course, most of them were from white people.
Interesting. Okay. I just don't know. It's hard to feel that out. Like, so I get all that. Yeah, I mean, I get it. It was made as long as it was made, with people in the room that represented that, then I think that makes it a lot better. I don't feel super comfortable with it still, but it's interesting.
Well, the very first scene of the movie, with Lyle, where he refers to the certain type of work songs, it took them forever to film that because he would not say the word. Yeah, Cleavon Little had to pull him off to the side and be like, "Look, I know, but this is the script. It's okay. We know you're playing the part, but this is the script. So like, if you could do this, so we could all get this done and we can go home, that would be awesome." But like, he legit was like, I don't want to say that, and he needed to be like talked to into doing it. But yeah, I think there's movies that have come out much more recent that still use it, and I don't know. Personally, again, I feel like yes, they use the word a lot, but they also use it as showing how ignorant people were.
I don't know. I think it's something that is interesting in theory to me. And I kind of wrote this down. I was like I think the jokes and the humor were well written, and I think the corny dialogue driven jokes were good. But I feel like it misses a lot on the humor for me.
Yeah, me too.
But I think I don't know if it's just people looking back at it and thinking like with rose-colored glasses and being like, "Oh my god, this was the funniest fucking movie ever." Like, "Oh my god." But I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was kind of a miss. It wasn't bad. I should say the humor, a lot of the jokes and humor were not bad specifically, but yeah, maybe it's because I watched it when I was younger and like it, but I just I don't know, stuff like Spaceballs is just so much funnier to me because it's also parodying something that I know very well and
yeah.
am familiar with, so it's kind of funny when it's like, oh, here's Barf, who's supposed to be like Chewbacca, basically. But also, one thing that does kind of I don't know, peeve me a little bit is when people say, "Oh, without this, you couldn't make this movie today." That's horseshit. You can make this without everybody saying the N-word repeatedly. It honestly is functionally the same. You could just maybe omit some of that stuff, and it would be very largely the same, I feel like.
I feel like if you left the plot the same,
yeah,
and everyone still is like, "Oh no, the sheriff's black."
Yeah, if everybody just treats him like shit, the point comes across still without having to be like that,
Yeah, I wonder if it's just, it just emphasizes it a little bit more with
I mean, it certainly does, but it's just again, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of people that are like, "Oh, you can't do comedy anymore," and it's I just don't agree with that. There are plenty of people who do comedy and honestly do racial comedy, other types of comedy that's people get mad at that it's oh, it's too woke now. It's that's not, I don't think that's true. I think you just have to be smarter about your humor. And you can't just go for the lazy punches.
I do hate that. I do hate that thing because that's what I was reading a lot of reviews about this movie on IMDb and that sort of stuff, and all of them are like, the PC woke millennials are ruining comedy and all that, and I'm like, I just think it's less about what you say, it's how you deliver it.
Yeah, it's the delivery and who is doing the delivery too. It's I don't like humor a lot that punches down. You know what I mean? And that's what I think a lot of people get in trouble with is when they start punching down and it's offensive. Well, and I'll say the term offensive. I know that gets used a lot, but it's it's not even offensive. I feel like it's just disrespectful at a level, and it's you don't need to do that. You can be funny without having to punch down or and it's also lazy. I feel like it's lazy,
Yeah.
I feel like these people should just be smarter about their comedy and more clever, and they would be fine. They don't have to cry about not, and there's a lot of stuff in here that was good. When Mel Brooks's character, or not Mel Brooks, sorry, when Gene Wilder's character would like show off his strength, like he literally like shot the gun out of like 9 dudes' hands, like they don't show it on screen. It's funny because it's like it's ridiculous, but and it's just like funny that he's able to do that, with no with.
Or he's like, I used to be the Waco kid, and he's got his hand, and he's like, he's like, oh man, that's steady, and he's like, yeah, but this is my shooting hand, and he's like,
and then immediately after that, where he's like, grab the piece before I grab it, and he like on screen, like he clearly would have grabbed it, right? And then like he puts his hands out, and there's nothing there, and he just like has it in his gun holster.
Yeah,
like that's funny because it's obviously implausible, but like you're playing it off like it's serious, like it's funny. And that's what makes it funny. That's the funny parts. And, like, I just feel like you could do something like this if you just don't, like, I don't know. I don't think using language I think using language like that, especially today, is just, like, lazy. Like, it's just lazy writing. I feel like you can do better.
I think it's tough because comedy changes so much every couple of years.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying from PC to whatever, but if you look at probably the majority of comedy right now and how most comedians get themselves out there, it's through podcasting.
Like or like short form videos like TikTok and stuff.
Yeah, like it's not the same as it was. Also, I just feel like in terms of the way comedy is now, it's a lot more story based. It's not as much like get up and tell these kind of jokes and whatever. Like it's a lot more like, okay, either there's an actual setup to it and like yes, it's a payoff to get like a whole bit, or a lot of the times it's just like, hey, this is real shit that happened to me and now we're gonna kind of merge it into a bit, but like this legit did happen. And I feel like it's not the same as it was. I mean, even comedy movies now, I feel like it's so much more like dialogue specific, and movies that do the comedy that Mel Brooks movies did don't do well anymore.
Yeah, well, they're also like dog shit tier.
Dinner for Schmucks. That's a fucking that's like an updated style Mel Brooks comedy. I think of this Scary Movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like Scary Movie or anything following that, I agree. I think that is very similar to this.
Where it's like, oh, here's this random off the cuff random thing that's gonna be funny out of the blue. It's like, yeah, okay, but
it's like Family Guy is like the evolution sort of like the like.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying.
Kind of where it's the cutaway, but I feel like it's a lot more cutaway, not in... The one thing I love about this movie is the fact that, like, somehow they make it blend into this movie where you can watch it and be like, that was fucking ridiculous, but also, like, all right, I didn't feel like they just cut away to a completely different thing. They tried to legitimately tell it through the story.
Yeah, like, I thought it was odd at the one point when it's, like, it's panning away from the fight, and then it just pans to the actual LA skyline. Yeah. And I was like, huh, that's weird. And then it like just cuts inside one of the studios and it's a completely different set. And I was like, all right, where are we going with this? But it's like, it was a bit, but it wasn't like Family Guy, where Family Guy's like, oh, it's like that one time when so-and-so happened, and then they just flash back to the bit.
It's like that one time Stewie joined a men's chorus, and then it cuts to them just doing the fucking men's chorus, and then it would just end and cut back to them talking. Yeah. Whereas this is like, this cuts to this men's chorus shooting this movie, and then out of the blue, these guys just come crashing through.
Yeah, it's, I guess, the best Family Guy parallel that I can remember would be like the chicken fights, where it's like they're doing something and then the chicken just busts through the wall and starts fighting Peter, and they like go through the whole bit.
Which like the first chicken fight was really funny. The first time they did it.
And then the first time they did it. Yeah, the fifth time maybe not so much, but the first time was funny how it kept coming back.
Yeah.
Granted, that was like a long time ago, I guess, but still.
The 1990s, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because I will say like there's things that like I don't know we joke about or like I say sometimes, and I'm like, okay, yeah. But we went to a comedy show 2 to 3 weeks ago, and one of the comedians made a joke like, oh well, I guess I'll just go kill myself or something, and I was like, like
Yeah, I don't know if
I
that's
don't
something I
like
would say up on
it's
set.
yeah,
I
it's
don't
like
know.
I feel like it's fine when it's like
Well, like you said
friends or you're
before,
just like
it depends on the context too. Depends on the context and who's saying it and like what's in general, comedy I think depends on who's saying it and what the intention is. And like it can be very cringy and it can be not cringy, just depending on everything.
And I think you can do cringy comedy and it be funny if you're doing it right. I mean,
yeah.
there's comedians that do shit that's like, ooh, but at the same time, I give them credit because sometimes they can be kind of funny. Not like all of their cringe material, but like,
I think the main thing is that I think now, like, and like you said, I think the perfect thing, like you said, is it has evolved. And like, I think people get mad about not being able to do the same jokes anymore. And that to me is just like lazy. Like, it's like, yeah, you can't do the same jokes anymore. You just need to just do something different, do something new, like get more creative. Like, that's really all there is to it. Like, it's not
like
some
that.
woke mob or whatever. It's literally
And-
just like do something different.
Like we're not canceling. You're not canceling Blazing Saddles. You can still watch it and laugh
Right.
at it and think it's funny.
You can watch it.
It's
You can think
just-
it's funny, I get. Like that's really up to you. But it's like if you want to make a movie now, like, yeah, you're gonna have to change some
Don't do
things.
Blazing Saddles. No.
Yeah, don't.
devil's advocate ish. But also, if people want to make that stuff, like, I mean, I guess
I mean, they can.
I'm not going to tell you
stop
you
'em.
can't. I'm also going to say, though, there are sometimes people who go to those types of things, like knowing what it is, and then are surprised that it is exactly what they told you it was going to be.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was Bobby Lee was telling the story where like somebody who was at the comedy store, they're frequent at the comedy store. It was well known that they were going up, like told this joke, and it wasn't even, I can't remember what the joke was. It was something about like a stroke or something like that. And like, or a relative of his that had a stroke, and like they were going on. And then like these people like started like yelling at him and got up and walked out, and they were like, what's going on? Like this literally, I'm sorry, but like this is what he does. It's well known this is what he does. Like you can't come to a comedy show and like sometimes do the work if you're going to put yourself in a situation like that. Like, hey, yeah, you're watching this movie, you should probably know up front it's going to be offensive. Like
Right.
there's parts
And
of it that are not good.
Yeah.
So like you don't be shocked or angry when those parts come up and be like, "Oh my god, what the hell?" Like you should have known going into it.
2 of us had not seen this film, so you get 2 fresh ratings from the Goob Squad, and then Ben will give you a updated rating and a nostalgia rating. Cameron, let us hear
Goop
it.
Squad. Yeah, so this one I don't think was for me. I kind of figured that. Some of it was funny. Like, again, a lot of the like physical stuff, or like just like the absurdity of stuff I kind of talked about earlier, how like, they would always show off screen him like doing his like quick reaction stuff, and he would like like shoot 9 guns out of people's hands and then pan back as if it was like serious, which is funny. I don't, like I said, I don't love a lot of the content of this. I get that it's like, I get the complexities of it. I don't think it's for me. Not that I don't like Mel Brooks' stuff. I haven't seen a ton of it. I've seen this now, and I've seen Spaceballs. I love Spaceballs. But I'm gonna put this at like a 4. I think it's okay. It's not great. The ending was funny though. Like the whole ending part was funny and clever, and the relationship between Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder was really good. But a lot of it for me just fell pretty flat.
We talked about at length, ad nauseum. We've talked about like some of the content, but I kind of have to agree with Cam a little bit. Like, I just don't know if this one was for me. I feel like I missed some of the jokes, and maybe that was like we talked about earlier, some of the Western spoofs and that content. But I do enjoy Mel Brooks. I love like absurdist humor, off the wall comedy. I love the corny dialogue and a lot of the like jokes or like things that would go through like an entire bit just for one joke. I liked that. The whole Lily von Stoppt character, like I could have done without. I feel like that wasted like 12 minutes of my life. But leaving this movie, I'm gonna give it a 5.5 out of 10. Like, I was never like, when is this movie gonna be over? And I enjoyed myself. Like, I chortled a bit, but it was never like huge laugh out loud moments. Give us the 10, Ben. Give us the 10.
No, I don't think this is a 10. I think going into it, I had it probably around a 7. Like, I enjoy it. I think there's parts of this movie that make me completely lose it.
Hell, you lost it earlier just reading quotes.
I love Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder's, like, their chemistry is so good. And it's interesting. One thing that I read, and I did know this, Pryor was supposed to be the sheriff, but because his stand-up was so racy, studios did not want to put him as the star of a movie. They did not want him to be the star of the movie. They were like, nope, if you put him on there, people think he's too offensive. No one's going to go see it. We won't fund it. We're not going to let you make the movie. So they had to cast someone else. Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder are fantastic. Their banter, their back and forth. Yes, this movie is dated. This movie with the race stuff is not good. At the same time, I don't think it's as bad as some of the other movies of the time due to the fact that I feel like it was done in a way to make the people saying it look worse than the people it's supposed to be derogatory towards. Like, yes, they're saying the N-word. It is not good. They're saying the N-word and they look like the bad guys. Like, they are made out to be not good people or not intelligent or whatever you want to say. That said, to me, this movie is like an adult Looney Tunes cartoon. That's what I put it as to me. Like, to me, it's a Looney Tunes. Like the sheriff is Bugs Bunny. Literally, he does like the frickin' Candygram. It's straight out of like a Looney Tunes bit. I think there's other things. I think the funniest parts of this movie are not the jokes that are geared to offend anyone. It's just the absurd stuff of like the toll booth, where it's just like, what in your right mind is like, I know this is it. This is what's gonna save us. Or the giant fight scene through the middle of like the Paramount lot. Just the meta parts of them going to watch the end of the movie at the theater. Just stuff like that that's absolutely absurd. I think those are the best parts of it. And for me at least, I can grimace and like bear the uncomfortableness of some of the language and still think this movie's enjoyable. That said, I don't know that it's a 7. I'd probably drop it towards like a 6 because it's one of those movies that I don't think it's like the end all be all of comedy movies, but it is a movie that's just, I think it's just a fun, enjoyable movie personally.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod. Hit up the Drizzly and Casker links below and make yourself a Blazing Saddles. You can check out Blazing Saddles on Hulu as of recording. Check us out next week. Share us with your friends and family. Leave us a review. And as always, watch responsibly.